What if I told you the person on the left, who contributed $0 after age 30, ends up richer than the person on the right, who religiously invested $500 every single month for 35 straight years? Not slightly richer, almost $250,000 richer. And no, this isn't crypto. This isn't a lucky stock pick. This is basic math that your brain is not wired to intuitively understand, because compound growth doesn't feel linear, but it is predictable. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why front-loading your investments in your 20s creates a compounding multiplier so aggressive that most fire planners don't even bother illustrating it. So here's the concept. Coast fire. Coast fire is the point where you've invested enough that you never need to contribute another dollar. Your investments compound on their own and carry you to a full retirement by 65. You coast, and the single most powerful number in coast fire is $100,000 by age 30. At a conservative 7% annual return, that's the inflation-adjusted historical average of the S&P 500. $100,000 left completely alone from age 30 to 65 compounds for 35 years. The result? $1,068,000. Without investing another penny. Now compare that to the conventional advice. Every personal finance blog, every robo-advisor, every book says the same thing. Invest $500 a month, consistently, for 30-plus years. Starting in your 30s, $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. For 35 years at 7% gets you $829,000. Respectable? Sure, but $239,000 less than the person who front-loaded and then literally stopped. And here's the gut punch. The front-loader, the one who ended up with more money, contributed about $75,000 total out of pocket. The steady investor contributed $210,000. One person put in roughly 1/3 of the money and walked away with nearly $250,000 more. How is that even possible? The compounding multiplier. Every dollar you invest doesn't just grow, it grows on top of its own growth, and the earlier that dollar goes in, the more doubling cycles it gets. A dollar invested at 22 grows to roughly $15 by retirement. That same dollar invested at 35, about 7. Invested at 50, barely 3. So when you front load, you're not just investing money early. You're giving each dollar a multiplier that's 2 to 5 times higher than the same dollar invested a decade later. And here's the proof. Two people invest the exact same amount, $75,000. Same $780 a month, same 8-year sprint. One does it from 22 to 30. The other does it from 35 to 43. At 65, the early investor has $1,068,000. The late investor has $443,000. Same dollars, same effort, same everything, except when the clock started. That gap, $625,000, is pure compounding. Nobody worked harder for it. Nobody earned it. Time just did its job. And this is why most fire calculators actually mislead people. They show you a nice linear projection. Invest $500 a month and you'll have X. But they rarely show you the cost of waiting. They almost never illustrate that the first $50,000 you invest in your 20s does more heavy lifting than the last $200,000 you invest in your 50s. Now here's the psychological trap that kills most people's fire journey before it starts. In your 20s, you invest aggressively and the gains look tiny. You put in $10,000 and at the end of the year, your account is up $700. You think, this is pointless. I could have used that money for a car, for travel, for literally anything else. But compounding has what I call a deception phase and a detonation phase. For the first decade, your returns look linear, boring, small, not worth the sacrifice. And then the curve bends. Your gains start generating gains. Your gains start generating gains. And suddenly, in your 40s and 50s, your portfolio is adding 6-figure years without you touching it. This is the hockey stick. Most people quit during the flat part. The front loader survives it because they packed all their sacrifice into their 20s. When they had energy, no kids, lower expenses, and then got to watch the explosion happen from a position of total freedom. So practically, how do you actually do this? How do you get to $100,000 by 30? Investing roughly $780 a month from age 22 to 30 gets you there at 7%. That's about $75,000 total out of pocket. If you're starting at 25 instead, you'd need closer to $1,400 a month for 5 years. Yes, $780 a month in your early 20s is painful, but here's the trade-off. You do this for 8 years, and then you're functionally done. From 30 onward, every additional dollar you invest is a bonus, not a necessity. Want to take a lower-paying job you actually love? Do it. Want to travel for a year? Do it. Want to start a business, take a career risk, live differently? Your retirement is already locked in. That's what Coast Fire actually feels like. It's not about being rich at 30. It's about buying decades of freedom with a few years of intensity. Compare that to the traditional path. That person is 55, still grinding out $500 a month, panicking during every market correction, stressing about whether they'll have enough to ever stop working. The front-loader stopped worrying about retirement 25 years ago. Quick practical note. If you're going to front-load, use every tax-advantaged account available. Max out your 401k, especially if there's an employer match, because that match is literally free front-loading. Fund a Roth IRA. Use a taxable brokerage for anything beyond that. The account type matters far less than getting the money invested early. And if you're already past 30, listen carefully. This doesn't mean you've missed it. The same principle applies at every age. The best time to front load was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now, this year. Every dollar that goes in today has a bigger multiplier than a dollar that goes in next year. The math still works. You just have less runway. The strategy is simple. Not easy, but simple. Get $100,000 invested by 30. Then let compounding do the heavy lifting for the next 35 years while you live your life. That's the shortcut. Not a trick, not a hack. Just time, multiplied by money, multiplied by the one advantage you have right now that you will never have more of, being young. If this was helpful, there's more on the channel. I break down FIRE strategies, investing fundamentals, and money mechanics that actually move the needle.